everybody, and welcome to Dungeon Masters Guild Design Dash. We are your first Friday of every month favorite D&D design game show, maybe only D&D design game show. If folks know of other ones, definitely let me know. I want to check those out. But if you haven't tuned into Design Dash before, welcome. We are a bit like Iron Chef or Project Runway meets D&D design. In a moment here, we will be revealing a secret theme, and our two sorry souls this time will be going up in a head-to-head challenge, designing encounters based on that secret theme. But before we get to all of that, I am Lysa Penrose. I'm the brand manager of Dungeon Masters Guild, and I'm joined by a very special guest co-host, Adriel. Adriel, want to introduce yourself? Oh no! Ferret Familiar, thank you so much. Ferret is letting me know that you were muted that whole time. Sorry, everybody. Let me fix it. That was on me for not taking a look and doing a sound check beforehand. Adriel, want to introduce yourself again? Great practice round.
I sure do. Hi, I'm Adriel Wilson, and I am the Indie Publisher Relations Representative at Drive-Thru RPG. And part of the reason that I'm here is when you want to publish content that is compatible with D&D, but it doesn't fit on the DM's Guild, you use the OGL, the Open Gaming License that Wizards provides for folks to be able to do that. And I'm our in-house expert on that because I see a lot of those titles.
Yeah, Adriel is my one bookshelf D&D buddy,
Yeah.
basically. Really excited to chat OGL stuff with you. But let us meet first our returning Design Dash champion, here to defend his title, Benjamin.
Hello.
Benjamin, so for folks who missed the other two episodes when you introduced yourself then, who are you? How might folks know you?
Sure. My name is Benjamin Huffman, and you might know me from writing the Pugilist class, or maybe one of my other classes, the Magus, the Scholar, or the Spiritualist. And I also was the project manager on Infamous Adversaries and the Complete Handbook series. And Keep of the Cobalt Queen is my little baby adventure that you should check out. That's how you might know me.
Benjamin, having been here multiple times now, do you have any secret tips or advice that you're willing to share with Omega?
None that I'm willing. I will give some maybe false advice, which is just to wait till the last minute to start writing. Just hold off.
See how it is.
If we got 15 minutes, wait 14 minutes, and then see what you can pump out in that last minute. That's my advice.
Okay, it's gonna be that sort of game.
Yeah.
I'm also
The head-to-head.
wondering, Ben, for no reason in particular, what is your favorite monster type?
Okay, like aberration, ooze, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I feel like I'm gonna make this really hard for myself if I say this, but ooze is probably my favorite monster type.
Ooze. All right. Very, very cool. Omega, hello. Welcome to the
Hi.
Dash. How
Hello.
are you? Who are you, and how might folks know you?
Yeah, season's greetings. My name is Omega Jones, also known as the Critical Bard across all social media channels, and that's exactly how you might know me. I am a professional actor and vocalist within the community. Pretty, I don't want to be like well-known tabletop professional, but I'm out there. I do things. I've worked with companies such as Wizards, Hi, Diddy, World of Darkness, Critical Role. I'm actually the theme song artist for Critter Hug, which is a monthly Critical Role show that sponsors signal boost different people in the community. I've done lots of things in that nature. I've also designed a little bit on my own. I have the College of Acapella on DM's Guild. Also, The Path of the Belter on DM's Guild, which are both musically inspired subclasses. Because as a vocalist and musician, I want to show you don't have to be a bard to have music be a part of you. So there are others that I have planned, but I haven't been able to do it because this Panda Express has not been kind to my mentor. So yeah, but that's me. That's what I do. Also, I'm like now I'm nervous because I've been eyeing this pugilist class for a long time, and I was like, I'm gonna play it at some point. Didn't know it was you. Great.
Well, if it helps, that's a class, and it doesn't help here. So.
Yeah. So, Omega, how would you describe your design style? Like, what do you think we might see from you today? And this, I know that you mostly have published classes, but also if you've like DM'd or run games in that way.
I definitely am one of those people who if there's a theme, if there's something that I can like latch onto, I will, or there's something that comes to mind immediately, I make sure I don't stray from that initial design idea. Because if you go too hectic, too fast, you just won't get anything done. So I tend to make sure I pinpoint something that I really want, and then I go from there. Like using the acapella class, I knew I wanted to base it around acapella. So how do I transfer that idea into a bardic subclass? Well, that was a bardic subclass. Or with belter, if we know that raging is being loud and belting is the idea of using your chest voice to just really project. Now let me hone that concept into a theme or whatever I'm making. So that's where I go. I take that one thing and I make sure I have that in my head as I go.
It's going to be really interesting to see if you thrive on being given a prompt.
We will find out, won't we?
And then again, for no reason whatsoever, what is your favorite monster type?
I was thinking about this as, our friend over here answered it. I kind of like Celestials.
Okay.
Give me those angelic beings who probably could still destroy you with a flick of their finger. I like Celestials a lot, but also, like Beast. I like them all. I don't have a favorite.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna write down Celestials then. Okay. Just for I'm just collecting. I'm just doing a poll. Okay. Everybody I meet. Okay. Well, before we reveal the theme, I want to remind folks in chat that you play a really important part of Design Dash. As folks are designing for the 15 minutes we give them on the clock, we will be chatting with you all to create a rubric on which to grade folks. So we need to figure out what our scale is. So we think 1 to 5 stars is way too boring for Design Dash. So things that have we've chosen before have been like 1 to 5 kobolds in a trench coat, that sort of thing. Usually it's based on the theme. And then we come up with, I guess in this case, 2 or 3 categories for the rubric so that we can give people superlatives at the end, which is really fun. So chat, as I reveal the theme, start getting those gears turning on what fun rubric ideas might be. Okay, so I'm about to reveal the theme. This is the first time Benjamin, Omega, and Adriel are seeing it, and I picked it because it's something I know Adriel really likes. The theme, and everyone's on the edge of the seat. Okay, I'm just going to say the theme, but then I'm going to ask Benjamin and Omega one more question.
Am I allowed to write this down in the thing?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay, good.
The theme of this Design Dash is, in all capital letters, bees! Bees! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
You will... my...
Yes, I knew. Okay, so in celebration of Adriel, we are going to be writing encounters about bees. Actually, instead of asking a question, I'm just going to inform there is an extra little thing because it's a head-to-head challenge. Benjamin, your encounter about bees must include at least 1 celestial. Omega, your encounter about bees must include at least 1 ooze. You have 15 minutes. I'm going to give you 1 extra minute in case you've got like a weird a few seconds over thing. So 30 past is when I'm going to call time. So everybody get set and dash away.
Okay.
If you want to take your headphones out, because Adrian and I will be chatting and that might be distracting, feel free. All right, I see those headphones coming out. I see in chat Bunkerman91 has already said honey ooze. Adriel, do you have any first thoughts about this theme? Like what you would design if you were doing a bees encounter?
I mean, so I've been working on a BRPG for years because I've spent so much time reading about them, and I'm just like, what would I do? What I would do is I would set up a scenario where a cuckoo bee queen takes over a bumblebee nest, and the adventurers have to like help get that nest back to its rightful queen.
Oh, I love that. We're getting some deep bee knowledge here. I feel like I want to do something with swarms, just because I find those to
Yeah.
be really interesting monsters in D&D because there are certain features that swarms always have.
Yes.
So maybe I might not have them necessarily be bees themselves because I would never want to fight a bee, but
Yeah.
maybe like a well, maybe if you made it evil, like a bee holder or something, like a bee
Oh
with like, and on the end
God.
of all its stalks are more bees. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. That pun wasn't planned. I'm actually a little upset with myself that I said
No,
it.
I love it. I'm so glad you said that.
So,
And
folks.
like,
Oh yeah.
oh, good.
I was gonna remind folks in chat. Oh my gosh, Ferret Familiar says 50,000 bees in a trench coat. Is that a rubric idea? I love that. I might actually put that down. We're grading on
Yeah.
scale like 10,000s of bees. 50,000 bees in a trench coat. Fantastic. And folks, come up with what are some categories we'll grade in the rubric. To be or not to be, just like a two scale, 2-part scale. That's awesome. I'd love to theme a dire bee colony built like Formians. They say
Ooh,
that's a cool
that's a
idea.
really cool idea.
Yeah. So, as folks come up with rubric category ideas for us, I figured we could chat a little bit about what exactly is the difference between Dungeon Masters Guild and Drive Through RPG or other places you might publish 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I would love it if you would start because I don't have I have the OGL stuff in my head. What I don't have in my head is like the stuff that's allowed on DM's Guild.
Yeah. Okay, so Dungeon Masters Guild is super ideal if you want to publish D&D that uses things that aren't part of the OGL. It gives you free reign basically on 99% of 5th edition D&D things. So if you want to publish in the Forgotten Realms, in Ravenloft, in one of the two ported over Magic the Gathering settings, you can do that only on Dungeon Masters Guild. There's also certain monsters and spells that aren't part of the open game license, like Beholders, for instance, and if you wanted to make like a Beholder supplement or player race Beholders, you can do that on Dungeon Masters Guild and nowhere else. So that's what's special about DM's Guild. It's also just people know of it, and its partnership with Wizards of the Coast, so it's sort of like a go-to marketplace for 5th edition D&D. So then what is the open game license?
So, I also just want to say the DM's Guild has a really great community, and like the creators there really support each other. And so, if you're looking for buds to design games with, that's a great place to be. So, the OGL is the Open Gaming License. This is a license that Wizards provides to allow you to make almost like literally anything, but what you're making requires the underlying systems of Dungeons and Dragons to function. So, like, you want to create a cyberpunk setting. That wouldn't really be like what you'd be putting on DM's Guild, but you can absolutely do it and publish it with the OGL on Drive Through RPG. And like, there are just so many different things I see. Like, because Dungeons and Dragons is probably the most popular role-playing system. I was gonna say possibly, but I think it
Yeah, I
is.
think that's fair.
Yeah, like tons of people know about it. You know, if you say, "Oh, I'm a role player," someone's gonna be like, "Oh, like D&D." The OGL lets you create your ideal world. Some of the products that I see are like folks who are like, "Oh, we made up this setting for our home game and we liked it so much we wanted to share it." And the OGL lets you do that, which I just think is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I get asked a lot by folks like, oh, I have this homebrew world or I've created this kingdom. And unfortunately, Dungeon Masters Guild does require you to either publish something that is in the existing settings that they have, or that is setting neutral, which usually a kingdom or certainly an entire world is not neutral because you'll probably have lots
Yeah.
of cool lore and special things about your world. If you want to like create in that large sandbox, OGL is the way to go.
Yeah.
So, what are some cool OGL things that you're particularly excited about right now?
Okay, so I mentioned Cyberpunk. On Drive Through RPG, there's a title called Gene Funk 2090. It's the core rule book. It's published under the OGL, and it's so cool. It's got like cybernetics, bioengineered genomes, like robots, drones, androids, and like I love fantasy, but I'm also a big sci-fi person. So a title like this is awesome because it lets me like play in a sci-fi world when I'm using rules that I'm familiar with, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
like, 5e, I've played it a lot, and so I love that. And then I picked another title that I wanted to share. It's called Remarkable Shops and Their Wares from Lore Smith. And I love shopping in Dungeons and Dragons, and it doesn't happen enough. Like years ago, a friend of mine, she was running a campaign for us, and she set up this whole little like market. And one game, we just went around the market and like had little encounters and bought things. So a title like this is fantastic because all you need is this title and you're like, oh, I can set up shops for my games. So that's another one that I
That
really
sounds
love.
so fun. I honestly love a shopping session. You get a
Yeah.
lot of like player role play and stuff,
Yeah.
which is fun.
And then like I picked another title. This title is new to the site. It just got put up yesterday. And I apologize to Cosmic Stew, the publisher, if I mispronounce this title. It's the Atlas of Ronglu dash Geronian C1. There are a number of reasons that I am super into this title. One, it's got a source book, it's got maps, it's got everything you need to just set up a game and go. And they filled out the OGL perfectly because you can't just go to Wizards SRD site, read it, copy out the text, put it in your title, and you're good to go. That's not how the OGL works. There are a couple sections in the license that you actually need to add information to. So one of those is section 15. Section 15 is where the OGL lists the source books that were used to create it and sort of what it references. You also need to put your title's bibliographic information in there. So you need to put like, this is the Atlas of Ronglu, copyright whatever year by Landon Beard. Like you need to add that information because the license requires you to. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing that is super important, and the reason that I love this title as well, is that when you use the OGL, you're actually not allowed to include any of the trademark terms that belong to Wizards of the Coast. So that's like DM, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. You're definitely allowed to reference those things. Like you can say this is compatible with 5e and that kind of thing, but you can't use those terms because those terms belong to Wizard of the Coast.
Wow, getting a really great lesson on OGL stuff. And I feel like it's basic necessary things, but also things folks miss a lot. So even just knowing a few of what those things are gives creators just the thought that, oh, I need to make sure that I'm following the list of all the different things I need to do.
Yeah. It's really important because, you know, it's pretty unlikely that Wizards is going to like go through drive-through RPG with a fine-tooth comb, but it's really important to make sure that you have applied the license correctly because it's just good for everybody in the industry. I've had publishers come up to me and say, "Oh, but I looked at that title and I did exactly what they did." And what they did wasn't right. You want to do it because, one, you could get in trouble. Two, it's respectful of Wizards. And like the fact that they have understood the reach of Dungeons and Dragons and made it accessible to everybody is like really good. A lot of companies don't do that. And so for me, I'm like, I want everybody to do this right because it's good for you and it's good for Wizards.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Chat has been buzzing away as you talked. Bunkerman suggested a few rubric ideas: most bees and most honey, which I think is cool. I would personally want to win the honeyest award. But they also just had some really cool ideas, so I want to read them for folks who are watching this as a VOD later. Ferret Familiar says, if beauty is in the eye of the bee holder, we build a room with a puzzle. Slots shaped like honeycomb. All of them have a switch in them. There are a couple normal bees floating around the room. Catching and holding one of the bees will reveal a mirror over one of the honeycomb slots. If you look in the reflection of the mirror, you will be holding the key to the exit door instead of the bee. And Foxholm adds, the puzzle should be all about hexagons because they are the bestigons. And oh my gosh, Snapdad adds an idea which is horrifying and amazing, which is Lich Beholder that has bees hiving inside its body. That is like really scary to me. I'd love to come up with one more rubric idea, though. Do you have any thoughts on a bee-themed rubric category? Let's see. Including the most bees, that'll be easy for us to count.
Yeah.
The most honey.
We could add how many stings happen.
Yeah, most stings.
Yeah. I love the honey one though. Like,
yeah.
FYI, just for those of you out there watching, Lysa knows how much I love bees. What Lysa may not know is that I have about 32 varieties of honey in my kitchen. Like, I really love bees and I love honey and they all taste different.
Yeah.
So
I love when you taste honey that isn't like wildflower honey, or in China it's called like million flower honey.
Yeah.
But like specific varieties have totally different tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh,
oh
what
no! I just wanted to say the Pearly Gatekeeper says swarm demon who is made out of a huge swarm of bees. That sounds really scary too.
I have this honey that it's collected in Hawaii, and the bees who make it, they only pull pollen and nectar from these particular flowers that grow on volcanoes. And legit, this is like the best honey in the entire universe. Like, you take a teeny teaspoonful of it and it's like someone said, let's make honey that's actually cake frosting.
What? That sounds so good.
Yeah. It is so good, Lysa.
Oh my goodness. Folks in chat are throwing out some more great categories. We've got best personality and most bee puns. I feel like the bee puns is something that definitely might come out.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to do most bees, most honey, and most bee puns, which I don't think will count as bees themselves.
Yeah.
We'll see how things go as we do the rubric. But it is 30 past, so I'm going to pop into the chat window and I'm going to call time. I see Benjamin already. Oh, okay. And Omega is hands off. Fantastic. So we'll prepare to present these. Like, how was that? How you doing?
I don't know what I just wrote. I apologize in advance.
Goodness. So while y'all were designing, we talked a lot about the open game license, so sort of the sister license to Dungeon Masters Guild. And I just wanted to throw out this thought into the universe that I would love if someone created a setting that was like you're all bees and you're in a hive and there were like hive mechanics and it was called B&B.
B&B.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Please do that.
Yes.
That makes me feel like you should also involve owning a bed and breakfast then. Like a hive that owns a bed and breakfast.
Oh my god, a D&D game where you're just bees with a bed and breakfast. That's so wholesome.
Please.
It's too cute. It's too cute. Okay. Folks have helped us come up with a rubric, which I want to share first, and then I would like you both to share your encounters with us. The scale we are grading on is 10,000 to 50,000 bees in a trench coat. Okay. And the categories in which we will be grading are most bees, most honey, and most bee puns. That is what the chat decided. Oh no, that is what the chat decided. Let me switch over our overlay here so that we can see Benjamin's design. Benjamin, chat with us about celestial bees.
Sure. All right, so I did just want to say up front, I had already like jotted down notes and I was like on track for the ooze thing, and then you threw the curveball with the celestial on.
Trixie
anyway,
here on the dash.
We'll see what kind of recovery I made. So, in the isolated kingdom of Denendor, the queen's only daughter has fallen ill. Her viziers believe the disease will be fatal if desperate measures are not taken. The only known cure for her ailment is ambrosia, a mead made exclusively in the celestial realms. The queen calls for all heroes in her kingdom and beyond to come to her aid, offering any compensation they desire if they were able to obtain ambrosia. Player characters hoping to take the queen up on her quest will first have to find a way into the celestial realms. Luckily for them, such a portal does exist in the mountains beyond Denendor. Player characters might learn of this portal by succeeding on a DC 16 Intelligence History check, 14 Intelligence Religion check, or 18 Intelligence Investigation check while accessing the libraries of Denendor or its nearby civilizations. Traveling through the mountains to the portal proves dangerous. A clan of hill giants have taken up residence in the range and, along with ill-tempered dire goats, have unwittingly made the path to the portal fraught. If the giants and their beasts can be defeated or avoided, the player characters will find a portal to the celestial realms within a shallow cave. Entering the portal, the player characters appear in an idyllic field full of flowers and buzzing with the sound of bees. Off in the distance, the player characters can see an apiary and a brewery. The smell of ambrosia wafts across the open field with each breeze. As the player characters approach the brewery, they are stopped by the groundskeeper/apiarist/brewmaster. He is sympathetic to the plight of Denendor's queen, but unwilling to part with a bottle of ambrosia, insisting its divine flavors exist only for the gods. The player characters can choose to attempt to persuade the apiarist, fight him, or pretend to leave and sneak back onto the grounds at a later time. Persuading the apiarist will be easiest with the use of magic. If using mundane methods, the player characters will have to succeed on at least 2 DC 20 ability checks using Charisma Persuasion, Charisma Intimidation, or Wisdom Insight. Fighting the apiarist will force him to call on his bees to defend his meadery. As the demigod of mead, the apiarist can direct his bees to swarm interlopers. His attacks include unarmed strikes that intoxicate who they hit, sending clouds of bees to slowly damage creatures who remain in their space, and causing a flood of mead to pour into the field, creating difficult terrain and potentially knocking prone the player characters. Avoiding the apiaries is perhaps the safest and most reliable route, though he jealously guards the meadery and has no need for sleep. Player characters will have to succeed on a series of intelligence investigation and dexterity stealth checks to enter the facility undetected, locate the ambrosia, and leave again without being found. Once she takes the ambrosia, the queen's daughter recovers fully. True to her word, the Queen of Denendor rewards the player characters with whatever they request that is within her power to grant.
Benjamin, that's like a very fleshed out encounter for only 15 minutes. Like you can tell that you are a honed design dasher. I think. This is, I think, your third time back in the arena. But I also loved, like, you added little bits of flavor and atmosphere, and but it was all based around like a very simple fetching quest. Classic. You can't really go wrong with that. Adriel, do you have any first thoughts on the encounter?
I really liked it. Like, I want to play through that. It seems really fun, and I loved that the apiarist is the demigod.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Was so good.
Goodness. So, I mean, it's already pretty fleshed out, but if you wanted to go back, and say you had like a full week to leisurely work on this encounter, where do you think you would expand? Where would you put your time?
Well, since I know puns is a category, I guess I would go back and start packing this thing full of puns. But really what I'd like to do is develop more of the like the lore of the god of mead and like what exactly he does, and I'd like to get a map of what this kind of like the fields, the apiary, that I'd like to see all that stuff kind of mapped out. And then I also think there's probably something you could do that would be fun as that kind of middle part of the quest with the clan of giants and the dire goats. I think you could probably do something fun there, make an interesting encounter or situation to avoid or overcome.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like the Adventurers League community manager or former community manager in me, but I loved that there were goats. Like, goats are a big theme in Adventurers League, and that just that you made them big just was very fun for me.
Yeah, dire goats are heavily featured in my home campaign, so it's felt like I needed to give them a shout out.
What part of designing this encounter was the trickiest for you?
Well, pivoting, because like I said, like you said the what we were working on, and or the prompt, and I was immediately like, ooze, honey, got it, and like was like my mind was already like, okay, so the honey's the ooze, and then blah blah blah, and I was already like 30 seconds into that, and then you hit us with the curveball of I was doing celestial and Omega was doing ooze, and so like just that switch, because my mind had already started running off in that direction. That was the trickiest part. Actually, once I got over that, I would say this was the time that it was easiest to just write. So
nice. I definitely noticed, like, at the beginning, you took a minute to sort of think, and I imagine that was you reworking the ideas that you'd already come up with. Very cool. Adriel, do you have any questions for Benjamin?
I don't. I'm sorry.
That's totally valid too. So let's chat a little bit about the rubric then. On a scale...
Actually,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I do have one question. I'm curious what you would have done with bees and ooze. Like, not in like really fleshed out. I'm just curious, like, what your first thought was.
Well, so my first thought was sentient honey. So the honey would become the ooze. It would be
Cool.
Yeah.
Honey ooze. That's a cruel
rubric.
Cruel trick. Yeah. Okay. Rubric. On a scale of 10,000 to 50,000 bees in a trench coat, where would you grade Benjamin in terms of most bees? I mean, I feel like it's hard to really say, not knowing how many bees Omega may have included. But it does seem like a field of bees. That seems like... Do you want to see like
20 to 30,000?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like right in the middle. We're gonna give Benjamin 30,000 bees in a trench coat for that, and that gives us room to play with how many bees Omega may have included. What about for most honey? How honey do you think this encounter was?
There was a lot of honey. I mean, there was an apiarist and he was making mead. So like, and you need at least 5 pounds of honey, I think, to make one bottle of
That
mead, if
is,
I am
I
remembering
know that
correctly.
that's true because Dustin is researching how to make mead right now. This is such a nerdy design dash. I love
So
it.
yeah, so let's say there's a good amount of honey in there.
Yeah, okay. So maybe let's give 40,000 bees in a trench coat. So a little bit like above average, but there's still room for more. What about bee puns? I didn't notice any bee
No,
puns.
sorry,
Yeah,
Benjamin.
I,
You gotta up your pun game.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're just gonna zero bees in a trench coat. Trench coat on the floor that's what it is. Just an empty trench coat. All right. Well, Benjamin, thank you so much for sharing that encounter with us. Omega, we're gonna move on to you. Oh, I already see a pun. Okay.
So, firstly, look, Benjamin is an amazing creator. From what we just saw, I took a totally different approach when I thought about this encounter. I was gonna like not have it super fleshed out, like have like a base and go from there. So I apologize in advance. This is not okay. Okay. Anywho, so
People
the
have different
concept
design
was.
styles. It's totally
Exactly.
fine.
It's cool. It's great. It's cool. So the concept was a halfling finding adventures to help him deal with an abomination. I use abomination loosely. That is the mysterious Hanus. They would eventually meet at least two characters, and there's Bumble, who is a stout halfling wearing black and yellow stripes. He's a beekeeper out in the woods, outside of Baldur's Gate somewhere. He's humble, kind of brave, not really, talks a lot, but can't really walk it without getting scared. There's also Hornet, pronounced Hornet. They are some fiendish insectoid creature from the Nine Hells, charged with nurturing this Hanus. The adventurers will leave Baldur's Gate and meet Bumble, who's really excited, telling them about this task, expectant and needy, as time is of the essence. If they were to like insight some of his words or what he's saying, they can tell that he's really worried, but he's talking like too truthfully, like he's not leaving anything out, which can be whatever. And if they were to make any type of history check as far as like the Hanus goes, or anything they might have heard in their religious text, they know that it's a honey imbued with a corrupt, which is more abyssal sentience from the larva of the bee colony that's around. So something corrupted the larva and it fused with this honey, creating this Hanus. They would eventually travel through the woods towards this entrance of this overgrown bee colony. They need to make a little survival check or two to make sure they're fine. And if they go below, they'll encounter like a wolf or two just to get them on their feet as they're going towards this place. But specifically, if they do have to do this encounter, the Hornet will be aware that something other than what's in the wood is already is around. So that could cause more problems and potentially. Eventually, they get to the hive. They're wandering through the giant tunnels of this place that's now been carved out to fit Hornet and their friends. If they perceive the area, they notice that the hive is filled with a sticky substance all over the walls and ceilings. Luckily, not much is on the ground because it's really thick, so it's not really dripping as much. So they don't have to really worry too much about getting through. However, if they make more survival checks, of course, they can just make sure they find the best path that has no honey on the ground at all. They also can hear, the distant buzzing through the tunnels that are ahead. Eventually, oh God, I'm sorry. Eventually, they come to the lair of Harnay and the Hanus. Harnay, as again, is a big fiend based on a barb devil, but it's yellow in nature. Less barbs, but a big giant stinger on their underside. The Hanus is a cross between a gelatinous cube. Wow, what is that spelling? And the black pudding, but it's honey based. The party can choose whether to sneak over or confront Hornet flat out with the information they gained from Bumble. If they sneak, Barb Devils have a really good perception, so it had to be pretty high. They might be able to get the upper hand on Hornet and take him out before anything happened. But regardless if they sneak or not, Bumble betrays them, as he's also a fiend, wanting the Hanus to devour them so it can grow its own intelligence and be a bigger force to be reckoned with. If you notice during this moment, with a good insight or perception, you notice that Bumble and Herne are always constantly looking at each other or close. They're partners. Happy Pride. And the encounter starts, and that's where we had time because I was stressed.
Oh, well, you got first of all, so much on the page, and a lot of you've got like a really interesting quest hook, existing monsters to give a DM ideas for how to actually run this monster, and some really compelling NPCs who have like a whole backstory and like really fun names and personalities. So I one of my favorite things about Design Dash is that the designers always have really different approaches. I don't plan it that way. Everyone has a different approach to how they write and design. So this was awesome and super fun. Adriel, do you have any first thoughts before we ask some questions?
One, I love that Bumble and Hornet are partners. Like that, yes, yes, yes. And like I love the inevitable betrayal. Like that was so great. Those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, inevitable and yet still shocked me. I was like,
Yeah.
what? No, but Bumble is such a shy boy. So that was really fun. So Omega, what was this like designing under in with this whole like situation with the time limit and the surprise theme, and how is it different from how you would normally design an encounter?
Well, if you run the VOD, you will see me going for a good chunk at the beginning of this. But it was stressful, but it also forces you to like get the ball rolling because you know you have that time limit. So it was quickly settling with an idea, no matter how silly no matter how silly it was, and just running with it, trying to figure out how this works, how they're going to traverse, and all those things. So it was definitely Jesus. Excuse me. It was a level of stress, but stress that was motivational stress. I'm gonna call it that.
All right, nice.
And in comparison, I mean, yeah, I definitely when I'm designing stuff, I have music in my ears, and I'm just chilling and I'm thinking. And it might not make sense, but I'm gonna wait until I'll get the right thing, and then I'll start. So again, stress for motivational stress.
Fantastic. If you had, again, like, so same question, if you had like a week to work on this, listen to your music, and everything, where do you think you would focus more time?
I would flesh out Bumble and Hornet, for sure, because I think they are a really fun group of individuals. I didn't get to say it in the design, but they would get away because you don't kill your gays. And they would be a constant pain, a constant stinger in the butts of the party in the future. The Hornews would be gone though, cause bye. But yeah, I was focused on them, and then just focus on exactly what the Hornews would be, and how it's conceived and how it can be conceived again, and just flesh out those characters a little more.
Yeah, I love a recurring villain.
They're very much like Team Rocket.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I also, it just in my headcanon, Hornet's entire rest of their family pronounces it Hornet, but Hornet wanted to be fancy.
Yes, 1000%.
All right, so Adriel, let's talk rubric. Unless you have a question for Omega, I forgot to ask.
Omega, do you think that Bumble and Hornet will eventually get married, or is that too for them?
I think it's not about marriage in the ceremony spell type of form with them. They are bonded for life, or until one of them bites the head off the other. So they are going to, go until death do them part. And even then, that won't actually kill them. It'll send them back to the ninth house. So they're together for a long time.
I like how we're both like so invested in these NPCs already. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so in terms of most bees, how would you rate this encounter, Adriel?
Well, this didn't have a lot of bees, but it had large bees. So
True.
I'm gonna give it a 40,000 bees.
For the scale of bees?
Yeah,
See, I feel like even had there been one Gojira size bee, I still feel like it's still only one bee. So I'm going to give it 20,000 bees. We'll average that to 30,000 bees.
That is valid.
Perfect.
Okay. What about in terms of amount of honey?
There was a lot of honey because there was the Hunnus. So,
True.
yeah, I would give that so how many?
We
I
gave
gave 5
Ben-
pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my mind, a gelatinous cube type Hunnus is probably like 30, 40 pounds just because it's big.
Mm-hmm.
But I may not really understand gelatinous cube sizes. Just so
True.
we're all clear
I mean, there
on
was
my
also honey in the
understanding.
tunnels, but I'm just.
Oh, yeah, no, this gets like, I said 5 pounds for Benjamin. I am giving 30 pounds to Omega.
True, but it was 5 pounds for like a thing of mead, and this is
That's
the demigod of mead. So
Whoa.
they've got to really represent. They've got to have a lot of mead, right?
Yeah, but like, you know what? I feel like they probably had a pretty close amount of honey with Omega just slightly pushing out the apiarist. I'm sorry, Benjamin. It's in the tunnels and it's in the ooze. And the ooze is gonna make baby oozes.
That's true.
Oh my goodness! If you like cut and then okay, so on a scale of 10,000 to 50,000 bees, though, in a trench coat specifically, how many thousands of bees?
40.
All right, 40,000 bees. Most bee puns. I mean, there were a lot of bee puns.
Most bee puns.
Yeah, I'm gonna quote who in chat said it. Reindeer-based melancholy said 50,000 bees in a trench coat and a gold star. I think is what we have to award for these bee puns.
Also, reindeer-based melancholy is like an amazing Twitch username and also the name of a record album.
Oh, I almost thought that was you for a moment since you're reindeer bee. Yeah. Bees plus a gold star. Fantastic. Okay. So, we had these two amazing and really different bee-based encounters. Next month, first Friday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific time, same place, we will be doing the dash again. But you folks who are watching are the folks who get to decide who returns next month. So right after we conclude, I'm going to go over to @DMs_guild on Twitter and put up a poll, and folks can vote for whose encounter they loved and who they would like to see return to design once more. So as we wind down the show, get folks ready for I think there's like a game dev chat coming up after us. Let's do some outros. Omega, who is the champion of most bee puns today.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. Let folks know who you are, where they can find you.
Yeah, again, my name is Omega Jones, also known as the Critical Bard. Critical Bard across all social media channels. You can find me everywhere at Critical Bard. I'll be streaming a lot, especially on Twitch, as I'm on the face of the Twitch Pride this year. I just had a really cool Twitch stream yesterday. I'm not streaming today because no. I might, who knows? But yeah, just find me everywhere. There's a lot of stuff happening. Some things I can't talk about yet, some things I can. So just be on the lookout of my socials, and that's that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Omega. And Benjamin, nearly most bees and most honey. Let us know who you are, where folks can find you.
So I've been Benjamin Huffman, and on socials, I'm Sterling Vermin. You should go to sterlingvermin.com and sign up for the newsletter because I send you like free player options every month. Nice.
And Adriel.
I'm Adriel, and you can find me on Twitter @ReindeerBee. And I just want to say thank you you so much, Benjamin and Omega, for sharing your creativity. It was really awesome to hear what you both came up with.
Yeah, I loved those encounters. And I am Lysa Penrose, brand manager over at Dungeon Masters Guild. You can follow DMs Guild at DMs_Guild on Twitter and Instagram. We also have a Facebook group for creators and a page over there. And you can follow me personally at Lysa Penrose in pretty much all the places, probably most active on Twitter and YouTube right now. So check me out. Thank you, Benjamin, Omega, and Adriel again for being here. Stick around, folks, for that game dev conversation. And we will see you next month, first Friday of the month, for more Design Dash. Bye, everybody.